Geographically speaking, we are in the Ois Chov Dalet, and starting from the fifth line and down in that paragraph, aval fi amur kan. This is where we're up to. Whether we're ready to go into that yet, we shall see. So, we actually discussed this morning and yesterday the principle of kelim and shoroshi hakelim. We discussed what does it mean that all these spheres were all intermingled, mi'urovim yachad, mixed. What's the significance of that? And that is mixed together. Clearly is implied over here that this is a higher level of the spheres than when they come individualized after the tzimtzum. So we discussed what does it mean they're mixed in. What's the meaning of that? Can I get some kind of
You mean before the tzimtzum?
right? Some kind of acknowledgement that this was discussed?
Yes.
Of course, that's all we've been talking about.
Can we say anything more about that?
It was a higher light.
Wow.
Than when they were separate. Distinct.
When they're not separate.
Do you think today that I mean, you give
Let me tell you before we go on. The truth is, these are extremely difficult things. And in yeshiva, this is learned only by the supreme classes. No one in yeshiva who is anywhere in the middle of developing his Chassidus skills will learn this. But we are our experts over here. And we insist that we're not going to move away from what we started. So, it's quite commendable. But if we do not, if we don't subscribe to it, if we don't relate to it, we have to know. There's no point of just playing. The Gemara says, "Zovin v'zovin tager ikra." The person buys and sells. He buys and sells for the same money that he bought. I'm a merchant. There's no point. We're not trying to be called Hasidic learners. We're trying to learn something.
But first we're just getting a structure. And what do you relate to?
Okay. I'm bringing this up from time to time because I want it to be an open option. If the participants say, we can't go on, we have to change it. I'm ready. There's a precedent to that. Huh?
The Friedrich
In a very significant moment. Friedrich Rebbe was saying Maimorim in Topin Sadik Dalet in Poland. Very, very difficult hemshech. And Chassidim just couldn't follow it. They went into the Rebbe and they said, "You're losing it." And the Rebbe said, "I wanted to give you the real thing." But that was the end of the hemshech. So if you want the real thing, it's right here. Okay, I'm not complaining. I'm just pointing out the option remains. I'm watching all the time whether you're getting it. It's like you're getting some. I mean, these are very, very subtle, very important, very fine thoughts. But I'm alerting it to everyone to think it over and to say, yes, we're sticking it out. Yeah, Jim Anderson, you were part of that presentation.
Mm-hmm. I'm there.
You're there.
Hopefully.
So can anyone try to recap the principles or the principle or something of today's and yesterday's class?
Sure. Talking about we're talking about the muscle of separating one of the letters from the word Baruch, and we're explaining that the nimshal could be looked at from 2 points of view. One of them is that Eser Spheres Hagenuzis is the Shershe HaKelim, which is what we got into more, I believe. And we explained that to mean how the human being has a concept. Well, yeah. Let's take one concept, for example, to make a car. And the first is the concept of where he that the world is, wherever he needs to be in the world. He needs to be everywhere in the world. Basically, he needs to be wherever he needs to be to do his mission. That's a concept, and then in order to implement it, so he in this level before the tzimtzum, he has every possible means to implement it, whatever it would take. And this is how this is how we look at it as Shershe HaKelim. This every possible means of implementation. That's a word for now.
All right. When you say every possible means, how is that reflected in the mimer? What are the words in the mimer that reflect this every possible means?
That all the spheres are intermixed.
Go ahead, say again.
That all the spheres are intermixed, because at that point, what's clear from at that stage is that everything going to work out. That it will be done.
So this mix of the spheres, yes, not. We have room for you. We're going down by afterwards. Okay, so let's go back. I asked originally the question, what does it mean that all the spheres are mixed together? What's the significance of that? So now we have some kind of a handle on that. Repeat what you said. What does it mean they all mixed together? Okay, let me. Okay, this is fine. Okay, fine. Let me kind of put some more meat on this. when a human being conceptualizes anything that will serve his human quality, like we said, he conceptualizes a car. To conceptualize a car just from the dream world is not called a conceptualization. Science fiction is not a concept. Conceptualization means that this is part of his real world, even though he has not yet fully identified how it's going to be implemented to the less, to the practical level. But when he conceptualizes something, it means he conceptualizes that, and he senses that this is what the world wants, requires, and that his duty in the world wants, and the world provides for it. But the ability of developing it exists, maybe very remotely, but it exists. That's what conceptualization means. In the concept itself, there is already inherent, ultimately, the possibility of its implementation. But please understand, and here is where the catch is. When you say it's inherent, the possibility of its implementation, it's inherent, and the possibility of its implementation at that point is not because I've identified the implementation method. But since that I have this concept, it has to be implementable. Because this concept came from a healthy mind of a human being. Again, we're not talking about science fiction, we're talking about real human thought. And this thought surfaced and came through because of my recognition what I am and what my place in the world is. It wasn't just a dream world. And therefore, inherent in that is the possibility of its implementation. But that possibility is not at all identifiable, defined yet. So far, so good. Am I reaching you? Just want to put in a little bit of a meaning to what SS vieles is. We had, prior to SS vieles, it says we have Ayin Sof, or the Ayin Sof. They have the Ayin Sof and need SS vieles. You have the Ayin Sof. What's the answer? What's the answer?
It's precisely what you were saying before. It's something that it's a means by which it's going to be implemented.
As a spheres is the means to take this huge, this primary Ayin Sof and develop it piecemeal until it fits into the world. Chachma, Bina, Das, Chesed, Bud, Tiferes, all the way to Malchus. That's what this sphere is about. And there's SS Filas Hagnuzes. What does that imply? Like we just finished saying in our motion. Inherent in the human thought is the means or the possibility of its implementation. Otherwise, it doesn't deserve the title of a human thought. It's not real. Why does he mean being think, like I said, of a car? Because he's involved in fulfilling his mission in the world. Not because of some wild dream. And this is that's the spheres agnosis. And there, all the spheres, all the different colors are intermingled. Because in order to implement it, you have to have everything. And you sense that you have everything. Then, after the tzimtzum, it comes out, and everything begins to be identified individually. And then you get to see the spheres, not from the perspective that they have to be there because there's the ultimate reality that what I need to do, like I'm talking about the muscle, the human being has to do, but because I now can focus on the world and see how this can be implemented. This is where the tzimtzum comes in. What is the tzimtzum? That's what we're learning already for the first few weeks. Tzimtzum means initially, as we said, all these thoughts, all concepts are representing the soul of the man, the greatness of his soul. Tzimtzum is where he puts that aside and draws from that how that can be applied to the world. Eventually. This means tzimtzum is with tzamtzum. He limits the impact of his own sense of good and right and will and purpose. And what surfaces are the kelim, the means by which these can be implemented. Question, yeah.
It's not clear to me. You seem to be talking about an individual, like Henry Ford or somebody like that, who suddenly...
Shmuel, please stay on topic, if better. Where does Henry Ford comes in?
You're talking about the designing of a car.
No, I'm talking about the concept of a car.
The concept of a car, okay. Okay, so it begins with some. How is the concept of a car how is the concept?
Were you with us this last few days, 2 weeks?
Yes. I didn't understand what you were saying all this time. And I'm trying to.
I just now explained. You always come back to yesteryear. I just now explained. When a person conceptualizes a car.
Nobody.
Wait a second.
No, it doesn't happen.
It happened.
Nobody conceptualizes.
1 second. It doesn't. Okay, Shmuel. I'm not going to argue with that.
It begins with a
Shmuel, I'm not going to argue that.
With a horse and buggy.
But the concept ultimately surfaces from the horse and buggy and says, oh, well, that's not good enough. The horse and buggy can take me only this far, but I need to go much further.
And you have to clean up the street afterwards.
That's right. Come on.
So
this concept
is part of the infinity of the soul.
Because why do I need to see the whole world?
You don't need to see the whole world.
Otherwise, why do I need jets for? And airplanes? And cars and bicycles, as a matter of fact. Why isn't a horse and buggy good enough?
appears in the vision.
Okay, you really don't want to get in there. You try to understand what we're saying here instead of resisting it.
I'm not resisting,
Yes,
Rabbi.
Shmuel, don't argue with me. You are resisting it because you want to understand it from the same perspective that you understood everything else, but it's a different perspective. It's a different perspective. I told you many times. Here you employ a completely different set of quality of koiches. You don't understand it by testing it, by examining it, by
In other words, just sit back and accept whatever you're saying.
That's right. So back what I was saying, and then use your intellect to relate to it.
Aha. So I have to crush myself. I have to force myself to stop thinking.
You have to say, no, yes, start thinking, but start thinking with the intellect that responds to this.
My intellect rejects this.
No, that's not true. You reject it.
Well,
No. Shmuel, I really don't want to go there. No, it's wrong. You have the intellect to understand this. I've known you too long to say that you don't have that.
Flattering.
I'm not flattering you. I'm hitting you over the head. I'm flattering you.
Well, don't stop hitting me over. Stop hitting me over the head and give me a decent answer.
No, I'm giving you the answer. I'm giving you the answer. Put yourself into it and you'll get it. Stop resisting it.
Put myself into it. Okay, meaning read and read
and try to.
But you're not saying what the word. What the.
All right, leave me alone. Just go concentrate. So, we explained the principle as a spheres agnosis, as an used the mashal of the concept of a human concept, which is on the conceptual level. It represents only the human quality, but eventually, the human quality is something, and what begins to surface is the implementation level. It's the decay. Okay. And this is the meaning. I just wanted to clarify that this is the meaning of the when it says the Maimer that the Spheres Agnusis initially, before the Tzimtzum, they were all intermingled. They're mixed with one another. What's mixing? What significance of being mixed? The answer is being mixed because they are not there by identifying each individually. They are there because of the higher source from which they emanate, and from there they emanate altogether, without any particular order. Okay. So now we are going to go into this a page Memtes Ois Chavdalad, which is the middle of the page, and we are going to the fifth line, the beginning of the fifth line within that Ois. The line begins with the word aval. Aval means however. And what does that refer to, however? We said before that the Tzimtzum affects the reduction of the oil to all the various mashalim. So the Rebbe says, however, this would be justified. This approach would be meaningful, would hold water, so to speak, if we say that the SS Spheres Hagnuzis are Shoroshei HaKelim, are the roots of the Kelim. As we explained just now, what is the point of SS Spheres Hagnuzis? You have the Ein Sof. The point of SS Spheres Hagnuzis is that the Ein Sof has the will and the idea that this should ultimately come into a worldly arena, on the worldly level. Therefore, you have to have individual spheres that can bring forth this oil on the manner that the world can tolerate, can deal with it. Which is as a sphere as notice. And in this concept of as a sphere as notice, there are two principles. There are two ways of learning it and understanding it that I've explained. One is that as a sphere as this is what's called Shoroshe HaKelim. This is what gives vent, provides for the possibility eventually that there be Kelim. What are Kelim? Kelim are worldly means by which a concept is captured. To put it very, very simply, we discuss it many times, a table is a keli. A table is conceptualized in the human being. I'd like you to give you half a minute think, what is a table to the human being? Is it a body with four legs? Or is it something that kind of serves to the human being, it represents a human dignity? It's not even a practical thing. Many times people sit at the table not even to eat, just to have a meeting, sit around the table. The table is something which establishes a definitive place where people can concentrate and be together and discuss the thing in a meaningful and leisurely manner. This concept is kind of a human concept. I'll give you a demonstration of this. Let's say people are sitting on chairs. They start discussing something, and then after getting involved in a deep discussion, say, "Come, let's sit down on the table." It's a very common expression. They're sitting around on chairs. They said, "Let's sit down on the table. We can concentrate better. You'll feel more connected. You'll feel more identified, more focused, more founded."
Sit down at the table?
Yeah, around the table. That's a very common desire.
Yeah, it's an expression even.
What?
It's an expression.
Yeah. So this sitting around the table, this is entirely a human concept. It's born in the human intellect. It is not born by the form of the table. The form of the table is the keli by the keli, what permits the idea to be implemented. And it could be all kinds of different ways. What is the distinction between oilers and keli? Okay, this I'd like you to say. Oilers could be viewed as shoroshe oilers, and it could be viewed as shoroshe hakeli. What would be the difference? In both instances, you talk about that you are redefining the big oil and breaking that into small pieces. What is the difference? The difference is Shoroshe HaKelim. Keli, I've pointed out many times. HaKelim means an entity that is part and parcel of the world. It's not part of the human being. A cup is made of material in the world. A human being can put into that, can design it in such a way that it serves him, and it relates to his intellect and so forth. He feels good, he feels self-respect when he drinks from a cup. But the cup is made of material in the world, not from the human being. That's kelim. Oiros is the redefining of the oir, of the sense, of human sense, at a lower level, at a lower where it can be translated into a practical state, actually imbued into a kelim. You cannot imbue into a kelim the human soul. There's no way. Even when we say a home, Odom Shin Beis in the Odom, a home defines a human being. But this is also only the expression of the human being, not the human being itself. We cannot capture the human being in any case.
Shorsha Oros means the things that can't be expressed in kelim, you're saying?
That's right. That ultimately can be expressed in imbued in kelim.
Cannot be.
Can. Shorosh Oiris means that. Now this is what's oil? Oil is how this is related to the source, to the human soul itself. But then there is the oil of the soul, the Ayin shape, and then there is it minimized. It becomes smaller expressions of the soul.
But it cannot be.
Right.
I missed the word you said. I'm sorry. It cannot be expressed in kelim?
No, the soul cannot be expressed in kelim. But you draw from the soul the oiris, and it minimizes the oil until it can be expressed in a kelim.
So how is it different from the kelim, Shorsha kelim?
The oiris, that's what I'm explaining. Oiris is how it is rooted in the soul. Kelim is how it is identified from the world perspective. Human being in this world finds eventually how he can design the world in a manner that it would reflect his status, what he is. Like we said, Odom Shein Beis in the Odom. A human being must have a home, but a home is like a house. It's an external thing. Within the world presence, the world is a welcoming place for the human being, provided that it's done in a certain way that it really welcomes and reflects the human being. But even that is not a keli for the human being. It's a facilitator. But the human being remains aloof. It's not captured in the house. All right. Okay. Keep some unity with me?
Yeah.
Okay, so again, we are starting from the fifth line in this Perek Chavdalet. So this would be well if we say that the Tzimtzum reduces the oil, or the oil actually dissipates from the keli. But that will be only if we say that the Esesphiras Hagnuzois are Shoroshi HaKeli. They represent the ultimate, eventually the keli. Aval lefi ambur kam. However, according to what we explained here in this hemshech,
But what does it mean that the ore dissipates from the keli? So this is the concept of that the spheres agnuzas are the source of the keli.
The keli, right? That's
So-
what he said.
in other words, it becomes so mitzamtzum that it goes out, and all you're left with is the keli.
That's right, like we said, if a car becomes a racing car, it loses completely its oil. It's human oil.
And on the other hand, when we say that the ore, what's the purpose of the ore? That it should be able to fit into the world, to express itself. In a keli, this is when we say that that this is the Esespheres Agnuzis are the source of oros.
Now, we're not. Let's think to a limited perspective. Right now, we're trying to identify what Esespheres Agnuzis are and what happens after the Tzimtzum. What happens after the Tzimtzum that I've explained is that the Tzimtzum effectuated the dissipation of the oil.
Isn't it reduction?
Reduction, yeah.
Not dissipation.
It says it's Nisalim and then reduction. First it's there's Nisalim, the big oil, and what remains is a reduced oil. So the Rebbe says that this concept would hold if we would say that Esespheres Agnuzis are Shoroshe HaKelim. Since they're Shoroshe HaKelim, so therefore it makes sense to say that these Kelim now lose, so to speak, some of the oil, and what remains is a minimized oil, reduced oil. Aval, but Lefi HaMavur Kan, according to what we explained here in this hemshah.
Wait a second. When you say it's a reduced ore,
I thought I'd get away with it. What?
when you say that it's a reduced ore, are you saying it became a keli? The ore became a keli?
No, it became suitable for Kelim.
Suitable for. But so why, if it's suitable for, it's not the keli itself.
That's right.
So why do we say it's the source of the keli?
A second. What happened over here? Somebody else is going to be a me in here. Try to answer him. Oh, that's on WhatsApp.
Two in one.
What?
We keep talking, there'll be two in one.
He wants to know.